This video is brought to you by ExpressVPN. More about them at the end of the video. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Burns Reviews, and today we were talking about the new Apple TV Plus show, The Shrink Next Door, based on the podcast of the same name. It stars Paul Rudd, Will Ferrell, and Kathryn Hahn. So, going straight into positives. I thought Kathryn Hahn was fantastic. I would give Kathryn Hahn the Emmy. I've liked her in WandaVision. I've seen her in a lot of stuff, and she is great. She's layered. Sometimes she's crying. Sometimes she's making you laugh. And the complexity of her character is top-notch. Paul Rudd, Will Ferrell also hold their own. They work great together. They were great in Anchorman. They've done a whole bunch of those frat pack movies that we all watched back in the 2000s. And this is obviously more of a dramedy than a straight-up comedy, which I really love. I love when a comedian who really seems to understand both drama and comedy, does shift over into drama, especially as they get older and become a better actor as the years go on. I saw Paul Rudd in a show, Living With Myself, I think it was called, the show that had two of them. That was a lot of fun. It wasn't as good as, say, like a movie, but for like a Netflix show, it was pretty solid. So as far as the positives, it's an interesting watch, this show, because much like The Wolf of Wall Street, we go back in time. It's 1982, and it takes place over the course of several years as we watch these two guys who are, therapist and patient, who become a little bit more than that. They're friends, but it's a very superficial friendship. And I don't want to give away too much because we're only getting the first 3 episodes today, Friday, and then it's going to be going every single week after that. It's 8 episodes in all. Each episode is roughly between, I want to say, 36 minutes and like 42 minutes, and then you have an additional 10 minutes of credits that you can just, don't watch that. So they're not long. They're pretty breezy. Apple TV was nice enough to send me the entire season, and I binge watched it over the course of 6 or 7 hours. So the acting is pretty top-notch. I think the cinematography is pretty good. It all looked great. And Kathryn Hahn, give that woman an Emmy. She can kind of do no wrong, especially recently. I think she's great in a lot of stuff she does. And that brings us into the negatives. Now, the biggest gripe that I have with this show is that it's very repetitive. There's 8 episodes, and the podcast itself is made up of only 6 episodes, and those episodes on the podcast are only 20 minutes in total. So there's actually more TV show here than the actual podcast. And I listened to the first 3 episodes of the podcast. It's on Spotify for free. And they really did take every little inch of information and stretched it out across all 8 episodes. This show could have been done in 5 or 6 episodes. In fact, it could have been a movie, really. It was giving me vibes of like Dinner for Schmucks, which is another show, a movie that has Paul Rudd, that has kind of like a weird character who's being taken advantage of by somebody else for their gain, and we've seen this trope before. Unfortunately, with The Shrink Next Door, and I know it's based on true facts, and maybe that's the problem, is that they stuck too closely to the source material, which was entirely from the point of view of Will Ferrell's character, Marty the Markowitz, who plays a character who runs his father's shop. He's got like a fabric shop. He runs it with his sister. And, he's got some anxiety, he's got some depression, so he goes and he seeks out this therapist played by Paul Rudd, Dr. Ike, and look, this is the bottom line. The middle section of this show is a lot of filler, okay? The middle 4 episodes you don't need, because episode 1 and 2, they really set up the characters pretty well, you get to know them, but then we start feeling a trend that just becomes incredibly repetitive. I kid you not. It is the same conversation again and again and again. And it always plays up the same way, only on a bigger scale. It goes like this. Paul Rudd, Will Ferrell. Paul Rudd will go, "Hey, Marty. Listen, pal. I think you're holding yourself back. I think you need to do this involving me so that it'll help you." And Will Ferrell's character will just go, "I don't know." Now, Marty, don't you want to help yourself? "I do, Dr. Ike. I really do." Alright then, so sign here and we're gonna do it. And it also goes on way more than I expected. Without going into spoilers, I thought this story was going to take place over the course of maybe 5 years or so, and then kind of, have some changes to the narrative. This goes on for 30 years. Will Ferrell's character, Marty Markowitz, in so many ways, and I know it's based on a true story, has wasted his life being sucked into this story. But like I said, that conversation is repeated again and again and again. The ask is always different, the ask is always bigger, and I think the biggest problem I have as well is the character of Marty Markowitz. Again, I know it's based on a real character. I feel like in this case, the people, the actors, the writers, they should have taken some more liberties to make it more compelling. They should have involved more characters. I wanted more of Catherine Hahn. Even if she wasn't involved in every scene of Marty's life, I wanted to see what was going on with her character elsewhere. I wanted to see what was going on with the other people that Dr. Ike was taking advantage of. And typically, pretty much what happens here is that the 4 middle episodes are just like pool parties. He goes out to his house in Long Island, he takes over his life, he's living with them, he's kicking him out of the master bedroom and putting himself there. He's telling everybody who he invites to these giant parties that he's the owner of the house, and this goes on for 4 straight episodes. And the odd thing is that Mark Markowitz, he's not giving any pushback. And that's why, basically Dr. Ike is able to do this, because he's manipulating him. But it's very frustrating as an audience member to watch it going, you want to scream at your TV like, come on, push back, tell him no. And it takes way too long for there to be any growth with these characters. I don't want to go into spoilers, but it's a lot of repeat. Like I said, this could have been shrunk down to 5-6 episodes, which would have been kind of appropriate considering there was 6 podcast episodes. You could have easily shrunk it down, but they didn't. And that's my biggest gripe, is that there's so much repeat. Not to say that they're not good. I binged it, but I did find myself like checking my watch going, are we done? And there's never a change up between the scenes. Like I said, we're getting that same conversation of Marty's character being threatened, emotionally blackmailed to do things that he doesn't really want to do. And, Dr. Ike is constantly just threatening that if he doesn't, I'm going to go away and you're going to be alone. And Dr. Ike becomes a bigger and bigger and bigger evil kind of guy. By episode 7, Will Ferrell's character does make some transitions in the way that he feels and views things, but I feel like this should have came so much sooner, or there should have been more indications earlier on about how he was feeling or what was going through his head. We don't really get to see what's going on in his mind. I mean, it's a very subdued performance. It kind of felt like somewhere between Stranger Than Fiction and Buddy the Elf, because he's very quiet and it's a very serious role, which is very different than what we typically see from Will Ferrell in most performances. And he's also like Buddy the Elf because he's like a child. He just wants to appease people, and he doesn't give any pushback, which made the show very difficult to watch for 7 hours straight. By episode 7 and 8, we do get more of a change-up. We do have things kind of come to a head, but I just think they could have done it a lot quicker. Another thing I want to say too is that I feel like the trailer was a little bit misleading. I saw this trailer, it has like the Billy Joel song, My Life. I don't care what you say anymore, this is my life.
Doctor's a little unconventional. I don't trust him.
Go ahead with your own life, leave me alone.
Marty, I have your best interest at heart. But without trust, we have nothing.
It got me all jazzed up. I'm like, oh great, the guy's from Anchorman. And even though I know it's a dramedy and not like a straight up comedy, I know there's going to be moments of levity to kind of break it up. There was no levity in this show. There was no moment along the way where we take a moment to breathe, to take a break from all... Like when you watch a horror movie, typically a horror movie will have a comic relief character to break the tension so that we can build it back up again. I know it's not a horror movie, but in this situation, I wish there was something to give us a breather from the repetitiveness of Dr. Ike constantly asking Marty for something more and more and more. And it just feels so redundant, and you stop feeling bad for Marty because you're like, hey, this could have been a conversation. You could have done something. But he's so spineless and weak as an individual. He has issues. And I don't feel like those issues were explored. But going back to the trailer, you know, they sell us big time, right? We see them at the party. We're hearing Billy Joel, My Life. We think it's going to be a fun time. We think it's going to be the highs and lows of these characters. But it's not a roller coaster per se. It's just like a straight line with a slight decline as we go. And the whole time you're watching it, you're just kind of heavy sighing. You're like, oh, he fucked him again. God damn, you know? But at the same time, he agreed to it. I don't think... There were very few times in the show where he lies to him and deceives them without him knowing it. It's like he knows he's being screwed over, but he goes with it anyway. And I don't want to talk about it any more than that because I don't want to go into spoilers, but I will say it's very repetitive. You could have introduced more characters to make the world a little bit more three-dimensional. You could have gotten away from that pool area and done more, because there's like 4 episodes where they're just that damn pool, and 60-year-old Paul Rudd, the character, is just having pool party in the Hamptons again and again and again, and nothing really has the weight or the gravitas that you would hope that it would. But so in closing, I thought Kathryn Hahn was fantastic. Give her an Emmy. She is sprinkled in there just enough that you really do feel her character change and morph, and we see different levels of her character. Even though the show's not really about her, I would definitely give her a Best Supporting Emmy for this. She was fantastic, and the 2 leads do a fantastic job doing what they're doing. I just kind of felt that they could have been given better material, and maybe it could have been shrunk down to 5 or 6 episodes. Maybe it could have even been a movie, because like I said, it did give me vibes of Dinner for Schmucks. And one last thing about the trailer, it's a little deceitful because you watch it and you think it's going to go and turn everything up to 11. Because you know it's going to be over the course of several years. You know it's going to progressively get worse for this character. And you think they're going to turn it all the way up to 11, but they don't. They turn it up to like a 6 or a 7, and they stay there. There's a couple shots where we see Will Ferrell is digging a hole, and you're like, oh my god, did he kill him? Did he bury him? I was getting vibes of Step Brothers a little bit, but I thought it was going to be like a darker version of that. And that's not what's going on. It's very deceitful in the editing. He's burying something, but it's not a human being. Not to spoil it, but I'm just saying it's not what you think it is. There's another shot where we see Paul Rudd wearing a doctor's jacket and Will Ferrell being pulled away on a gurney, and you're like, oh my god, is he so deep in now that he's like his new caretaker? Has he been, is he calling him incapable of taking care of himself, and now he's his caretaker, and he's forcing that? No, it's just a dream that Will Ferrell had. Again, these are very minor spoilers, but I only bring them up. They're in the middle of the show. I only bring them up to demonstrate the point that it is not so high and low as the show would make it out to be. It's repetitive, but at the same time, it is a lot of fun watching these characters be these very New York Jewish characters in 1982. It's a lot of fun, especially Kathryn Hahn. She leans into all of that New Yorker Jewish type character from the 80s, and it's a lot of fun to watch her. I think the accents are very like fast and loose. Like they got just enough for the trailer, but they kind of go away immediately. It's like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Gangs of New York. It's like, oh, you had an accent, and now you don't. So with that said, guys, I did enjoy The Shrink Next Door. I binged it all. Thank you very much to Apple TV Plus for sending me an early advanced screening of all 8 episodes. It's going to be playing the first 3 today, Friday, and after that, every single week, all the way to December 17th. And I'm going to give this show a 5 out of 10. I think it's watchable if you have Apple TV Plus because you want to check out Ted Lasso and you already have it. Not for free, but you already have it. Go check it out. I think it's worth watching. I personally think I would probably rather watch it in one sitting because it does get repetitive, or who knows, maybe breaking it up and spreading it out would make it a little bit less repetitive. Although you might find yourself in week 5 going, we did this last week, only it's bigger. He's asking for more. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. We have other videos right here. I'll leave a link. And of course, this video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Don't let somebody like Dr. Ike take control of your data and information. Be sure to get ExpressVPN, and right now you can save 3 months when you sign up for a 1-year pack by clicking on the link down below, expressvpn.com/BurnsReviews. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. I have been John. You just got burned. Be sure to give the video a like if you like videos just like this, and we will see you next time.